Section 2.2, conditional statements here we're going to be talking about. And let's take a look here at the objectives here. First objective that we're going to look at here is to recognize conditional statements and their parts. We talked about the vocabulary, what conditionals are. Remember, conditionals are if-then statements. And then we're going to be able to write converses, inverses, and contrapositives of conditionals. So, as we look here at these examples, let's take a look here at this first part. So conditional statements, what are they? Again, reminder, conditional statement is an if-then statement. Okay, it's an if-then statement. The hypothesis is the part that follows the word if. Okay, and the conclusion is the part that follows the word then. All right, so this part right here, you'll see these symbols quite a bit. What that means is that it's if P, then Q. Okay, if P, then Q, or P implies Q. We don't usually use this very often. We always say if it's P, then it's Q. Okay, so the first part is going to be whether you can identify what the hypothesis and what the conclusion are. So here it says, what are the hypothesis and the conclusion of the conditional? So as I look at these examples, okay, if an animal is a robin, then the animal is a bird. Okay, I want to identify what's the hypothesis, what's the conclusion. Now, a lot of times what I'll do is I will circle one and I'll underline the other. So for right now, I'm going to circle the hypothesis and I'm going to underline the conclusion. So remember, the hypothesis is the part that follows the word if. So the hypothesis here is that the animal is a robin. The conclusion is the part that follows the word then. So the conclusion is that the animal is a bird. Okay. So the second one, what are the hypothesis and conclusion of this conditional? If an angle measures 130 degrees, then the angle is obtuse. Okay. So again, the hypothesis, going to circle the hypothesis, going to underline the conclusion. The hypothesis here is that an angle measures 130 degrees. Okay. A hypothesis again is the part that follows the word if. The conclusion then is following the word then, which means that the angle is obtuse. Okay. So being able to identify the hypothesis and the conclusion. Okay. All right. So now what they're going to ask you to do is write conditional statements. So actually write the if-then statement. They're going to give you a statement and ask you to write it as an if-then. So it says here, how can you write the following statement as a conditional? Okay. So it says here, vertical angles share a vertex. All right, so I want to write that as an if-then statement. Okay, so I'm going to make this part my hypothesis, the fact that it's vertical angles. I'm going to make this part my conclusion, the fact that they share a vertex. So if I want to write this, if angles are vertical, then they share a vertex. Okay, so I've now written that as an if-then statement. If angles are vertical, then they share a vertex. I can identify the hypothesis and the conclusion. Again, hypothesis is the part that goes with the word if. Conclusion is the part that goes with the word then. So the hypothesis here would be angles are vertical. Conclusion would be they share a vertex. Next, how can you write dolphins are mammals as a conditional? Okay, so very easily, again, this part right here is going to be my hypothesis, the fact that they're dolphins. Conclusion is going to be that they are mammals. So if you are a dolphin, then you are a mammal. Okay, and again, the hypothesis in this case would be you're a dolphin. The conclusion would be you're a mammal. The other part of being able to write if-then statements is, and we talked about this in vocabulary, is being able to identify the truth value. Is it true or is it false? Okay, so in this case, we talk about truth values. I said the truth value of a conditional is either true or false. To show that a conditional is true, show that every time the hypothesis is true, the conclusion is also true. So whatever the if part is, if that's true, and then the conclusion of the part that's following then is true, then we know that that value is going to be true. To show that a conditional is false, only find one counterexample. All you have to do is find one. Okay, so you have to find one thing that will make that not true. All right, so is the conditional here, are these conditionals true or false? If it is false, give a counterexample. All right, so first example, if a woman is Hungarian, then she is European. Okay, so the very first statement is telling me that this woman is Hungarian. Okay, right here, the if part. All right, so if the woman is Hungarian, so if she's Hungarian, she lives in Hungary. Hungary is in Europe. Okay, then she is a European. Well, if she is Hungarian, then yes, she is a European. Those are both true statements. So therefore, that guy right there is true. That's a true statement. Okay. All right. So next one, kind of more of a math question here. If a number is divisible by 3, then it is odd. Okay, first of all, let's figure out what divisible by 3 means. Divisible by 3 means that 3 will go into it evenly. Okay, so if a number will have 3 go into it evenly, then it is odd. Is that true or false? Well, 3 goes into 3 evenly. Does 3 go into 4? No. Does 3 go into 5? No. Does 3 go into 6 evenly? It sure does. So, and wait, is 6 an odd number? No, it's not. So, therefore, this guy is false. And because it's false, I got to give a counterexample. And my counterexample is 6 is divisible by 3. But guess what? It's not odd. It's an even number. Okay? So that, in that case, that's a false statement. All right, next one. Okay, if a month has 28 days, then it is February. Okay, so wait, if a month has 28 days, which months have 28 days? That's the kind of the question you're kind of asking yourself here. Well, if you look at the months, every single month has 28 days, not just February. Okay, so therefore this guy is false because it could be 28 days and it could be May, or it could be June or July, or it could be January. It could be any month you want to pick. Okay, every month has 28 days. Last one. If two angles form a linear pair, then they are supplementary. Okay, going back to a math question here. If two angles form a linear pair, so that's two angles right next to each other, two angles adjacent to each other, that make 180 degrees. Wait, is 180 degrees supplementary? And will 180 degrees, will it ever be anything else other than 180 degrees? No, because it's a linear pair. So therefore, this is true. Okay, so you should be able to write if-then statements. You should be able to figure out the hypothesis and conclusion. And now you can tell me whether the things are true or false. And if it's false, you can give a counterexample. You should be able to take care of the first page here of these practice problems.